Hey, well, good morning. I'm Wes Smith. I'm with Alabama Quality Assurance Foundation, and on behalf of Alaha and the other sponsors, let me welcome you to the Quality Forum this morning. Let me real quickly introduce the remainder of our sponsors. Before he sits down, Daryl Weaver with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Daryl, thank you. BD MedMind Services is a sponsor today as well. We thank them for their support. The Medical Association of Alabama, Mark Jackson is not here, unfortunately, this morning. But thank you to all of our sponsors for making this possible. I've got a bunch of housekeeping issues to go over with you real quick. So like in the past, we won't have really any scheduled breaks. If you need to get up and get out for a minute, please do that. But trying to make this as economical for you and get everybody out of here on time, middle of the afternoon. The lunch today, if you're a MedMind customer, your lunch will be in the bronze room, which is right there next door. So, and the lunches will be in the room. So you do not need to pick up a lunch and go. If you'll just go, there'll be a lunch in the room. For everyone else, the lunches will be out in the lobby that you just came through. If you'll go out and grab a lunch and come back in here, that's how we'll do lunch today. If you need the handouts, the Wi-Fi access is Complex Guest, and if you'll go to the AQUAF website there, you should be able to find the materials under that link. As you know, we're in a new location for a couple of reasons today, but we will be very interested. Rosemary and Margaret will be very interested in how this went today. I understand there was a wreck out there, but access is getting here is always a problem, and I think one of the reasons we're here and not downtown is downtown's a mess as well. So if you will if you have a constructive comment, please make sure that we are aware of that. We are also trying as hard as we can to get as many physicians involved as possible. So if you think you have a champion at your place that might benefit from being here or wants to be further involved, please don't hesitate to bring their name forward. Again, Margaret be the one to contact, and if and we could reach out and try to include them as appropriate going forward. So please be aware of that. Let me also recognize that this is National Public Health Week. Do we have some folks from ADPH that are here? Please stand up and let us tell you thank you for what you do, particularly along the infection prevention and antibiotic stewardship line. They will also have some relevant materials out in the lobby. And then I guess the last element is education credits. So we have CEUs available for the nurses, and that's out in the lobby. And physicians, you'll have to complete a separate form, but St. Vincent's has agreed to do that for us again. And so if you'll just fill that out and make sure, you know who has that out there? Just at the table? Okay. Yeah, just ask around out there at the table. All right. Well, with that, let me introduce someone that doesn't need any introductions, particularly to this group. It's Mr. Keith Granger. Keith, as you know, has been with Alaha for many, many years, has led two hospitals to national prominence for quality purposes, and is now helping the Community Health Service group and their hospitals here in the state with all of their quality efforts. And so with that, Keith, welcome.
Thank you, Wes. I appreciate it. It's very nice to look out and see a full room today, and I know that many of you had to do a little roundabout to get here based on the traffic, but as Dr. Smith was saying, downtown we understand is the same circumstance. There's a lot of construction going on downtown. We had several suggestions that perhaps we try to find a venue, and as we were going through that process, we thought back to this place. For many of you, I'm just curious, how many of you have been at a prior quality forum out here in Pelham? All right, good. And many of you don't even have gray hair like me, so that's good. I was reminiscing a little bit driving out here this morning that I think when we were last here, for those who were in the room at that time, I think it would be safe to say I'm kind of going off the cuff here, and I hope I have Blue Cross's permission to do this, but Blue Cross and the Hospital Association and many of us were kind of under assault by many of the employer groups in Alabama about what were we going to do about quality in Alabama. And of course, we thought we had a pretty good story of work underway. And many of you may remember we decided to put ourselves right in the center of that discussion by inviting Mr. Charles McCrary with Alabama Power here. And Mr. McCrary had some very strong feelings about how healthcare was perceived from his perspective, and how our focus about patient safety and quality, and perhaps how we ought to be under maybe greater governmental authority or regulatory pursuits at the state level if we couldn't find a way to make a move with quality care in Alabama. And I believe that Blue Cross and we both thought that we had a story to tell, and we tried to tell that story. And I think Alabama Power became really kind of an advocate for many of the good things that were going on, and that's because of what you were doing at your facility level. I think we also included the governor in one of those meetings here at this site. So Pelham is not totally new to us. This venue has had some really foundational parts of our past. And I think today, as we go through our topics and go through our presentations, it's an opportunity again for us to continue to raise the bar and improve the performance across our state. So I appreciate all of you who have been on that journey with us all of these years, and those of you who it may be your first visit to a quality forum, we welcome you. This is a fairly loose group from the standpoint that we believe networking is important. We don't have a lot of formal structure, so you are welcome to participate in any and all activities of the meeting. And I hope that you will find time not only to engage the speakers, but to engage your peers and colleagues in the room. It's from each other that some of our best learning occurs, and so I encourage you to do that as we go through the day. We have a pretty full agenda. We have a history of pretty well finishing on time, so we'll try to stay with that today. We have a very good early part of our programming here that will come together, and I want to give you a little bit of background before I introduce our speakers and tell you what has already happened today. As Dr. Smith was saying, we try to convene our chief medical officers and other physicians key in your organizations for a quick breakfast prior to this meeting. Today we did that once again. It was a small group, but it was a very active discussion that we had regarding documentation, regarding the issues that we face with our EHR systems, and how we all go about trying to accurately, correctly identify the care that's going on for the patient, but more importantly, making sure that it's documented in a way that meets the governmental standards and allows us the adequate reimbursement for that. But we also know that we're under assault from many in other parts of the industry, such as CMS, et cetera. They're all on a take-back program, if you will, to balance the budget. So the hard-fought dollars that we have to get in our organizations to sustain the services that we provide clearly are all tied to what happens in the documentation arena, but more importantly, they reflect the care that's going on in our organization. So we thought it would be important to try to bring that quality, that clinical, patient safety documentation, as well as the financial sustainability of our organizations together for that early morning talk, not only in the breakfast, but the first session for each of you. Today we're delighted to have two speakers that are going to kind of introduce that topic to us, share some information. We'll try to save a little time at the end for questions that you may have. But let me just remind you as we start this presentation, you are a leader in your organization for how your organization coalesces and brings these processes together. You are also the messenger that brings reasonableness to whatever has to happen within our industry to fix and address some of these issues. So as you hear this discussion today, I don't want you to leave here with fear and trepidation. I want you to leave here and say, what can we do to help our organization be better in these arenas?